Hi. Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Incite MultiChannel webinar. Moderator. Today's webinar is going to last 30 minutes. We have two panelists, and they're each going to speak from their experience managing multi-channel marketing, and then answer questions from myself and from the audience. So please put any of your own questions in the comment box in the lower corner of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end. We'll also have two polls, and I'll let you know when you can begin voting and what the answer options are. And and we're also going to be sending a sort of thank you gift for Incite On Demand. Woo! Your subscription to all new content from our shows. So you can try a free trial at insitemc.com/on-demand if you want to see what it's like. And we're going to get started. So how many different places do you do marketing? I want you to go through them all in your head right now. Do you feel like all of them are working in harmony? Getting your marketing to work together has become quite a task, and it isn't getting any easier. A quarter of marketers said they weren't confident coordinating their marketing over traditional channels, and 35% said the same about mobile. At Incite, we've been bringing together the best minds in marketing to help you get the answers to all your multi-channel questions. Multi-channel is a keystone theme at all of our summits, such as the upcoming Incite Summit East on November 12th and 13th, and Europe on November 18th and 19th. And like this webinar, all of the discussions are grounded in the questions and insights of working with other senior marketers on topics like this. They're definitely worth a look. Okay, well, tell us your full name.
I'm the former Chief Marketing Officer for Heinz North America, and I'm currently unattached. So I'm actually working on a couple things right now, but I guess you could call me a job seeker at the moment.
Great. Okay, now Sam, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Sam Diamond. I'm the head of brand at Gumtree.com, which is the UK's #1 classified site and part of the eBay group.
Fantastic. Okay. So as I mentioned, we're going to start by having each of the panelists offer a case history of their experience managing a multi-channel marketing campaign. So Jason, we're going to start with you. Could you tell us about each of the channels you've had to leverage at Heinz and how you got them to work together?
Sure, Mark, and just a comment, Sam, I thought you agreed that you weren't going to use about what we did on our Super Bowl marketing efforts at Heinz this past year. So this went to life, but the three big channels that we were managing were, one, in-store, two, TV, and specifically at the in-game broadcast during the Super Bowl, and then thirdly, digital. So just to give you the big idea of what we were trying to communicate, it's a kind of a higher order emotional benefit. We called it Life is Happier with Heinz. So historically, Heinz would have focused, more functional, thick and rich ketchup, that sort of thing. And we decided that the two basic objectives of what we're trying to accomplish. First of all, in the short term, we were looking to drive Heinz ketchup sales with less discounting during this key period for us, the Super Bowl window. Yes, that was kind of our short-term objective. And our longer-term objective was to build equity around this happiness message. All right, again, this idea of life is happier with Heinz. So let me tell you a little bit about the program and the mechanics. So as you see on the screen, the first thing was that we had a bottle. A big part of the program, and where of course spending the most money was on the Super Bowl commercial. So there's 30, and it's a bunch of different people humming the song, If You're Happy and You Know It. And at the critical moment when you should clap your hands, instead they tap their ketchup bottle. So if you go on YouTube and search Heinz Super Bowl commercial, I think it's the third link there. It's the 30-second spot. So the third piece is the photo of yourself with a Heinz product. That would give you a chance to win. And there's up to over $400,000 in prize. I think there's probably two big challenges that we were regularly grappling with as we put this program together. The first is, do we want to tailor our message and have our message be different, and do we want to have really a single message? Right? So that was kind of challenge number one. Challenge number two, is that some channels simply can't handle much detail or depth of sale. Right? So if you have more than you can say in a 30-second ad or more than you can say depth of sale. Right? So those are kind of our two big challenges. So I'm going to talk about then really what I see as kind of the 5 solutions. They don't link up directly, with 2 challenges. We always had a bias towards our happiness message. Okay, so we had sweepstakes, and we wanted people to upload their photos. We had a video promoting the sweepstakes, and when we were trying to socialize the sweepstakes, we wanted people to watch the video. We have happiness recipes, which, here we are, marketers, maybe talking to ourselves just a little bit, but these that kind of fit to the occasions that we're trying to highlight for our users. Okay, but across all of that, we wanted to make sure there was a bias towards our happiness message. So when we had, when we look at creative, doing enough with the happiness message. As long as we could say yes to that, then we knew we were succeeding. The second thing was, we said, so essentially that's digital, right? Where someone clicks and they can go deeper, right? So if we had additional things we wanted to say, we say, which meant the third thing we tried to do was really eliminate secondary messages. So like in the TV commercial, we kind of wanted to put more of a mention of the sweepstakes, like a call to action, and we, in the end, just didn't think it worked, right? So we eliminated reference to sweepstakes in our TV commercial. So if you're watching this commercial during at different points in time, had different roles. So like our bottle promoted the sweepstakes, and it was in store about a full month and on restaurant shelves or restaurant tables about a full month before the game. Okay? So it was really trying to drive people to the sweepstakes. Then getting closer to the game, once we released our ad early, then our digital focus was on driving people in. The fifth thing was to then plan for spontaneity. Okay, so some channels require a certain amount of war room. So Bill Ulrich, who kind of led most of this work for our team, was in the war room with our kind of cross-functional team, about 8 folks. And during the game, we had prepped for and had assets we were ready to use, and we had kind of a highly successful tweet that we delivered right at the start of halftime. A little pun that showed a burger and ketchup on the burger with the score of the game, 22-0, and the tweet said. So we were able to do that because we'd planned for spontaneity. All right, so those are our 5 solutions. Just to give you a little bit on the results, so we did a lot less discounting in store, and we did grow share. Okay, we got almost 100,000 entries into our program, and then our TV commercial, USA Today Fan Meter, voted 17th out of 57 spots in the Super Bowl. More important for us, ACE metrics, which measures effectiveness, are number 5 out of 57 ads in the big game. So that's our story. I'm happy to take questions later on, but Mark, I guess back over to you.
Awesome, great, Jason. That's absolutely fascinating, and we're going to definitely dig more into that in a little bit. And show. Okay, now, Sam, do you think you could tell us about a multi-channel campaign you've done? So what's worked for Gumtree and what hasn't?
Yeah, no problem. So across all channels. And we hit upon one which can be defined by the word success. So the brief to the ad agency was to show how easy the classifieds can be, where buyers and sellers come together, and how everyone gets a win-win situation. As a site, we see millions of buyers and sellers coming together, and thousands of success stories happening every day, whether it be people buying and selling goods, finding a place to live, finding a job, whatever. So we bottled it down to success, and then we took that onto TV and radio. That was pretty easy. We showed buyers and sellers coming together, and we had a hairy comedian who was there overseeing the transaction and shouting the word success every time something great happened. The interesting thing then for us was to integrate this across all the channels that we use. Now, you'll see examples on the slide I've put on screen here of ways that we've done that. Some of them physical and some of them digital. You'll see that on the website we changed the homepage to talk about this message: millions of sellers, millions of buyers, boom, success, and their site that 1 in 5 online adults comes to every month in the UK. You have from the site, every time somebody deleted an ad, we asked them if it was successful or not. We then turned that data into a real-time message which would come up on the site, which said success. Chris, social media sites into places of success. A game that Gumtree had sold something, it had a successful transaction. Success stories on Gumtree. He was one that had sold a car. We paid him £100, maybe $150. Took up a couple of hours of his time, went to his house and filmed his story. But there's nothing like user-generated content for making your site feel attractive, that it can be trusted, that it's going to work. And we take some great characters from our audience across the UK and then turn them into great videos, which we then socialize and which run on the site at the moment. And like that, you can see we did a lot of simple things, but when you register for the site, your email now comes with a headline of success rather than just that component. And then the final picture in the top right just goes to show you an example of how we reformed the office. So bright imagery all around the office shouting boom success. Everybody got success hoodies, merchandise around the office to make sure that, you know, internally everyone was bought into the idea of Gumtree. People think of Gumtree and they think of it as a place, powerful thing, a very powerful proposition to be associated with is this idea of success. So results from us, we saw fantastic brand metrics. It shot up. Finally, we stood for something recognizable, and now a top 25 site here in the UK and on the move north. So it's been extremely positive. The final thing I'll say is, you know, this is just one example of multi-channel, and I think, you know, Mark is very generous, but, you know, I don't consider myself necessarily an expert. None of this stuff would have happened without a great team, both internally, so the idea straight away, adapted it for the different channels, and brought it to life. So while I am not the expert here, I'm merely good at just clips. I like to think that helps along the way, and people bought into it. So that's how Gumtree.com brought success to market.
And how they approach their customers. But just I really find it really interesting how you've both campaigns sort of found a really clear, concise, strong message, and really push that as the way to sort of to organize the multi-channel campaign. So I'm sure we're going to get into that in detail, but I think it's really fascinating, and I hope everyone listening does too. So now we're going to go and open up a poll to our listeners. So if you're listening, please look over to your screen and answer our question over here. So the question is, what's your highest priority when managing multiple marketing channels? Delivering a consistent message, delivering a message that takes full advantage of each individual channel, or using your channels to hit the widest and best audience possible? So if you are listening, please submit an answer now and help us help everyone who's listening get a better idea of what you're all thinking. And make sure also, if you have any questions, please, for the panelists, for Sam or for Jason, please put them in the chat box, and we will get to those in a moment. So again, our first question is, what's your highest priority when managing multiple marketing channels? Consistent messaging, effective use of those channels, or reaching the best possible audience? Okay. So these different aspects of multi-channel marketing in one campaign, but is there one of those that jumps out to you in particular that you think brands should focus on first?
Do I get to see the answers to the poll first, or do I have to just answer your question first?
Well, I think we'll have the answer.
28:35, is that what I see?
Yes.
No, pretty split right down the middle there. So I was guessing actually that folks, maybe given the topic, would go with taking full advantage of each channel. So for me, that my ideal answer, or at least my bias, would be you got to start by getting your strategy right first, and therefore, you know, I'd go with consistency as the most critical thing there, right? So to your point, we'd like to have all those, but kind of here's how I would think about kind of going from you know, the theoretical to the practical, I guess. So, you know, I think first of all, you have to decide on your objectives. You have to decide on your strategy, right? So I think once you've done that, then you can pick your channels. And so I think maybe one of the challenges would be if you pick a standard or a default set of challenges, or excuse me, a set of channels, you might find that some of them don't work as well for your given objective, for your given strategy. Conversely, if you have decided on your objective strategies and then you pick your channels, you're thinking about what your target consumer is, what assets you've got, and what you do well, then you may gravitate towards channels where you can have greater chance of success. Okay, like you're going to need to think about cost and complexity of each additional channel that you add. You know, so then my bias in the end would probably be, hey, maybe it's only 3 to 4 channels out of the myriad that you could choose from that you would go and do really, really well. You know, maybe for someone else who had 50 channels to choose from, and maybe they need to be in 5 or 10, maybe there's a bigger number there. But for us, narrow it down to 3, 4, 5 things and do them very well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, I think I mean, delivering a consistent message was the highest in our polls, but I mean, clearly it's pretty much a 3-way split. And yeah, I'm really interesting to see that that marketers, people's different priorities are, if it's based on their kind of what they're marketing for, their industry. Because honestly, I was expecting what we'd see one strong front runner. So this is yeah, a bit of a surprise. So Sam, do you have any? Do you agree with Jason and/or those poll results? How do you think brands should figure out what their priorities should be with multi-channel?
Hi, Mark. It's a great question. It's also a really difficult question because there's no perfect answer. I think from the example I just showed you with Gumtree's success story, you'll see that we deliver the consistent message, right? We have a continuous, seamless kind of messaging running through everything we do. But actually, my preferred priority here would be taking full advantage of each channel. I think you could consider that through each channel with the different people, different needs, different possibilities. You know, TV, there's an awful lot of wastage. You're talking to a very broad audience there, so something's not going to be right. But whereas with social, you know, people who are opting in to hear more from you, or from display, you know, people are in active shopping mode. You've got to kind of take advantage of each channel, and it brings to mind a couple of examples of companies that do this well. You think of Apple as a company who make the most of their in-store experience. You know, they spend so much money making their stores the absolute perfect example of what the company stands for, and they use a shed load of money on outdoor advertising, but which is really bold, really impactful, really colorful. You'll never see an Apple outdoor ad that has too much information on it. It'll just have a beautiful iPhone 6 to make you salivate. So they won't bore you with PR, they don't bore you with emails, they don't bother with display advertising, and they don't do social media. So classic example of taking full advantage of the channels they use there. Another example you may have in the US, IKEA, right? They use their media in store beautifully. You know, if you go through the IKEA experience, everywhere you turn, they're shouting big messages to you about the great value you're getting, sustainability, the fact that, you know, you're leading a fashionable life. And they're also, in the UK at least, they're the biggest spender on printed catalogs, printed material in the country. Their catalog is an enormous print run, contains everything they have, but it's a perfect channel for them to get across everything they want to, because, you know, you pick one up either when you're in store or it gets delivered through your door here, and, you know, it's delivered to something like 50 million households in the UK. That's the perfect medium for them to be getting across their message. People can relax with it in their own homes. But that wouldn't work for every brand. So for me, it's working out which channels are right for you, which instinctively feel good for your brand, but also, you know, what are your customers, how do your customers want to interact with you? Gumtree.com, for instance, is a very social brand. By nature, classifieds provide a social networking platform, okay? We bring together strangers who want to buy or sell stuff, or find a job, or find a place to live. So social networking seems like a very instinctive place for us to be. So we invest on that, we make sure that our community is well looked after, and it's something which is definitely going to play more of a prominence in our planning for next year.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that definitely makes a lot of sense, and I mean, it's if you're not using a channel that's effective, then it seems like almost kind of a foolhardy to look into that. And it's interesting again about IKEA. I don't know if but I know they're huge, and I personally love reading the IKEA catalog, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and it's actually a much better product than their website. Their website doesn't seem to offer the same enjoyable experience. So you're much better just flicking through, you know, 200 pages, which they've poured all their love into. And that's about quality, not quantity. You don't need to be everywhere, because to be everywhere is really expensive, takes a lot of time, and it's not always right for your brand. For Gumtree, it doesn't make sense for us to be some places. You know, we're not on all social networks, for instance. We don't bother with areas where we're going to have any success. So I'm fine to ignore them, draw a line through it, and just focus on the ones that we know work.
Absolutely. And yeah, if you, I mean, as channels kind of multiply, it really is, it seems like it's becoming a game definitely of picking your battles instead of rushing to the hottest and newest thing. So now I actually have a question for Jason from the audience. One of our listeners wanted to know.
Sure. Well, so I mentioned that we had a team in the war room. So right away we had a little screen where it was sort of showing all of our social activity when we posted we tweeted. So that was that was super exciting, for the team. We're like, oh, God, make it. Everyone's, like people are going crazy, tweet or whatever. One of the things that was a learning for us, I think we got about 2 million as a total audience reach for that tweet, which isn't that high. So we were, reading reviews after the game of like Heinz is Oreo. The lights went off. Oreo just tweeted out about their Oreo Dark. And so kind of people declaring, experts in the industry, Heinz wins the battle at the Super Bowl. But we only get to 2 million with our, with our tweet. And so the ability for a message to amplify, and to get passed along is so much greater if you start from a strong place. So, if now with a much stronger base in place, if Heinz were to go and do something successful again, let's just say Super Bowl next year, another, home run, or I should say touchdown of a tweet, would then probably go to 50 million instead of 2 million. So it's a little bit about how we tracked it, but also a lesson. You got a social space, you got to build a presence to be able to amplify from.
Absolutely. No, that's a valuable piece of insight, Jason. Now, Sam, we have one more question. This is from the audience as well. So Sam, as an online-only company, what's been Gumtree's biggest challenge in selecting and using its marketing channels?
Well, it depends on an online company, and if anybody else out there is listening from an online company, we are just focused on efficient visit. Now, that doesn't sound very sexy. We can't have as much fun as maybe I would like as a creative marketeer, but it certainly focuses the mind, right? It trains you to only do things that work, try your best to optimize as much as you can, and also to have fun in the areas where you are less measured. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I think from an online point of view, clearly I don't need to tell the audience what sort of stuff can be measured and what sort of stuff is right to measure. We measure the cost per click to register for the site. Online is covered. That's easy almost in the modern day. From an offline point of view, we use complex econometric modeling to measure the value of our TV, radio, outdoor work to make sure that we're as efficient as can be, we're advertising in the right places, at the right PR and social media. We're really lucky in that we don't get measured on that. And that's something that I've been swinging for in the business, frankly, because it's the sort of media where we don't spend an awful lot of money, but it can make a big difference for the business. But it's really difficult to measure that difference. So with PR and social, you need to be active. It's not the sort of thing that you can plan 12 months out and say, decide in January this is what we're going to be doing in December next year. You just can't do that. You need to be nimble, you need to be quick, you need to be able to throw a little bit of money at it from time to time and not worry too much about the ROI. So, from the channels that we select, the vast majority of them are efficient and do what we need, help our customers, make us visible in places where they expect to see us, and overall help with the long-term health of the brand. So it's a combination of the two, and I'm really lucky at Gumtree that we have progressive bosses, forward-thinking bosses who understand that not everything should be measured down to the final point.
Yeah, that's a very interesting insight as well. And I mean, and kind of a spread of kind of more and more channels means increases the desire from other parts of the business to measure, because you have something kind of new, you want to test it out, you want to make sure you shouldn't be somewhere else, and it kind of accelerates, I think, a lot of other trends we're seeing across marketing. And now I think we could definitely probably go on about this for another hour. I know both in terms of how they play off one another, but I'm afraid we're sort of out of time for the webinar. So everyone listening, thank you very much for joining MC.com, and check out our upcoming summits in New York and London. And you can hear more hard-hitting, in-depth conversations between high-level brand marketers on all the most crucial topics in the space. Also, don't forget, everyone listening, you're going to be receiving a 30%. Have a look at our free trial at Incite. That's INCITE. mc.com/on-demand, ONDEMAND, and check out the free trial. And if you feel like you want to go ahead and make a purchase, then put in the code WEB30, which we'll send to you as well in the follow-up email, and you can get you'll get 30% off. So stay tuned, as we'll be running another webinar, Kirstine, with Incite Marketing Communications. Thanks for listening.